everybody. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm so pleased to be here and have a chance to introduce our guest speaker today, Mary Risley. She's the founder of Food Runners. She has been one of the proponents of this program for decades. And she also just a fascinating person. And please join me in welcoming Mary Risley.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So let's see, what am I talking about today? So first of all, number one is it's really good to see you. And I think the food here is the best I've ever seen in a corporate cafeteria. It's just fantastic. And thank you for all the excess food that you give food runners. We are picking up masses of food every day and taking it directly to the shelters where it is either served that night or chilled and served the next day. So it really, really means a lot to the shelters in San Francisco. What's the story about Mary Risley? Mary Risley was a young woman who drove across the Trans-Canada Highway in a blue Mustang 50 years ago and came down to San Francisco in the summer of love when everybody was sharing. They were sharing sex, apartments, marijuana, and it was a major influence to me, the summer of love. And by the way, I still have the blue Mustang. And that was 50 years ago. I tried for 5 years to be a secretary and wear pantyhose and go up in a corporate office and tried to get the men to want to marry me, and none of it worked. And so after 5 years, I said, fuck this. And somebody said, what have you always wanted to do? And I said, I've always wanted to be a cooking teacher. So I started teaching cooking in a ratty Leavenworth Street apartment. I hand wrote the recipes. I walked down to a bank at California in Montgomery. Somebody copied them on a Xerox machine for free. And I went home and taught everybody what I'd learned in Mastering the Art of French Cooking by Julia Child. So I'm a big fraud. That was in 1973. In 1979, I started a full-time culinary school, Tante Marie's. And if you Google Mary Risley, you will see my video. How many people have already done that? The video I made 5 years ago, which is timely now, is just put the fucking turkey in an oven, have a glass of wine, take a walk, and don't worry about it. Thank you. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Google. So if you go to tantemarie.com, my website, you will see there are 350 recipes on how to cook and 32 YouTube videos on how to cook. And of course, now I'm out of date because people are putting videos on other things and things like that. But I'm a very lucky girl that I've been able to support myself as a cooking teacher for the last 45 years. The next thing, am I okay in the picture up there? Do I look okay? Yes, I look skinny and beautiful. What is Food Runners? Food Runners was started in 1987 with me and a group of women. And what we do is we provide any business in San Francisco with the free service, free service of picking up their leftover perishable and prepared foods and taking it to the shelters, taking it to what I call the shelters. It's really the neighborhood feeding programs. And so what happens is we have currently 200 volunteers in their own car, 1 paid truck driver, a man running around in a van, his own van, who's paid, and 2 bike couriers. And what those people are doing is picking up leftover, perishable, and prepared foods and taking it right from the donor to the person, to the people that are going to serve it that night for dinner. We do have a slideshow to go with a PowerPoint presentation. If we have it up, we could talk a little bit about my PP. It's called a PPP, I understand, a PowerPoint presentation. No idea how to use something like that myself. So what happened? I talked about a little bit earlier. I talked about my coming to San Francisco 50 years in the Summer of Love. And that was a time when we were all, when people were sharing. It was also a time when it was cheap to live in San Francisco, if you can believe that. And so what we do is we provide businesses in San Francisco with this free service of picking up their leftover food. And so what, you might have heard of the San Francisco Food Bank. The food bank is a huge building down in Indiana Street, which is a warehouse of non-perishable foods. So people that are like Kellogg's and Del Monte can donate, green beans that have the wrong label on them, or cereals or stuff like that. So there are we Food Runners takes to over 300 different neighborhood feeding programs. But those programs can go to the San Francisco Food Bank and buy food, like in a shopping cart, for 18 cents a pound. It's donated food. The 18 cents goes to pay for, the operating costs. But what do you do with the trays of lentils with mushrooms, trays of noodles with pork that can't go to a big warehouse down on Indiana Street? So that's why Food Runners started 30 years ago, to supplement what the food bank can't do. And currently currently we're delivering food directly to places around town, as I said earlier, that can serve it that night or the next day. So what is food waste? Food waste is let's go back to that previous one. Let's go back to the previous, who's doing that? Who's clicking? You are. Oh, she. So wait a minute, I saw Jon Stewart last night. He was hiding behind something like this. Wait, I can do it. Let me do it. Show me how to do it. What? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can't do it. Okay, here we go. I want to do one and then the other. Okay, so look at this. 40% of the this is the statistics. So the estimate is that 40% of the food in the country is discarded, and 20% of the food that is bought and taken home is discarded, and as you know, there are so very, very many people that are going to bed hungry. And one of the big problems in this city, I think, is that if people have an apartment and 2 or 3 kids, I mean, they can usually pay rent, but they don't have enough for food. So there's a lot of hungry people. You've seen it all down here, right? You see it all the time. So when we're talking about rescuing perishable and prepared foods, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is, oh, no, first, when you go into a store or go into a business, do you ever throw food away? They say, oh, no, we never throw food away. Well, here's our card, here's the phone number, here's our website. And then they will say, oh, it's not the company policy. Well, who do I talk to change the policy? Okay, and then we're worried about liability. Well, the bottom line is that in the United States, Nobody has ever sued after receiving donated food. And the donor has been protected by laws since the 80s in California, and the Good Samaritan, what's commonly called the Good Samaritan Act in the 90s that Bill Clinton signed. So there is no need. There's no need to. No. Okay, here I'm going to try it. Do. Didn't work. So there's no need to fear liability. And so listen to this. So where does Food Runners pick up food? We've been picking up at Whole Foods at Franklin, California, ever since they started. We pick up at every Trader Joe's in the city. Listen, Trader Joe's doesn't want publicity about it. They just do it out of the goodness of their heart. And they give us milk. Next one, please. They give us milk, meat, dairy, flowers that have all gone by their expiration date. Expiration dates doesn't mean a fucking thing. What happens is it is something that was created by. It's at the manufacturer's discretion to put on the expiration date. You know, buy, it expires after, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing. I myself have kept a cooked chicken, and eaten it 3 weeks after I roasted it. I've cooked with eggs 6 weeks after I bought them. And you know, I've got cream in my fridge that has an expiration date of October 26th. I open it up, smell it, and use it. You know that. I mean, we all know that. It's don't throw it out until it starts to smell. When I was at cooking school in France 150 years ago, the chefs used to break the egg and open it up and smell it to see if it was bad. Can you imagine that? We don't get bad eggs. So where does food waste come from? Where does food waste come from? The bottom line is the first place that it comes from is the farmer doesn't want to pay to have somebody go through and pick the strawberries again. So if the strawberries or the peppers weren't ripe when he hires the migrant workers, he doesn't want to pay to have somebody go back and get it again. So nowadays there's groups called gleaners that are trying to go and get the produce from the farms after the pickers have gone through. The next thing that happens, as you know, is that the guy sorting the apples at the distribution center is this one he can sell, this one he can't, this one he can sell, this one he can't. So the ones that he can't sell used to be discarded. It wasn't worth his while to. But now there's a group here that's will go and get what they call imperfect food. So that's a good one. The huge place for sources of food that we just talked about is grocery stores, and so as we pick up at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Gus's, we pick up all over town the food that the grocery guy doesn't want to put out, or the food that doesn't sell and is a little too old. So that's what Food Runners for. And then another big thing is, as you know, we just talked about 20% of the food taken home is discarded. And I have to say, the other day I threw out 5 carrots that have been in the bottom of my fridge for ever. They were just pretty bad looking wilted carrots. They actually looked like something that Dominique Kren would cook. She likes them all. She likes to roast carrots for 54 hours or something. But anyway, the reason I put my website up there, the Tante Marie website, is there, as I said, there are 350 recipes on there. And you know what? So we have a group of young. I say that in order to get young and rich, you have to have blonde hair. in San Francisco, and then you have to drive a SUV, Land Rover or BMW or Porsche. Alfa Romeo's coming up with an SUV for and then you have to have blonde dogs and blonde kids. But those blondes are afraid of leftovers. So they go and they buy their meal and then they throw the leftovers away. You don't have to throw leftovers away. You could turn your leftovers from leftover spaghetti and you can keep it in the fridge for up to a week if it doesn't have meat juices in it. And you can spread it out in a pan, a buttered pan, and beat up some eggs and throw it in and make a frittata out of leftover spaghetti. You can make it into something else. So that's what good cooks don't know. That's what people don't know, is that they say, oh, we don't like leftovers. But good cooks know that you can take leftovers and turn it into something else. What is salad niçoise? Leftover green beans, leftover potatoes that you throw a can of tuna fish on. Am I right? So anyway, so what the sources of food waste are the farm, the distribution center, the grocery store, and the home. And so if we can try and pick up at those places and teach people how to reuse their leftovers and not buy too much that they don't need and don't worry about expiration dates, then we can help to avoid food waste. What can we do about people here? So I'm 76 years old, and I'm at the age where if I go to a restaurant, I don't eat all the food. So what's happening for my generation is a lot of people will eat half their portion of chicken or fish or whatever it is, and then ask for a little box to take the rest home in. And then they eat it cold for lunch the next day. That's what older women do. But how can you teach Googlers not to take so much on their plate and then they think, oh, well, it's being composted. Well, it's still, you don't need to take so much food if you're not going to eat it. And so that's how you teach people not to do that, I don't know. You tell them about the 76-year-old lady that has a little box to take home and eat it cold the next day. But next. What you know is that, what we all know is that if I take a plate of, today I had delicious lentils and noodles here for lunch. If I take too much food on my plate, I can put it in a little box and take it home. But the food that was all out on the buffet that is not reusable for another day, all can be packaged and donated. And so that's why we have so much tins of food from businesses like yours that we pick up and take to the shelters. So what I thought this is a list of the 5 places that your food is donated to 5 days a week. So you don't have to hang out there. Come and stand up. Come and stand up and look. We're the Christmas girls, green and red. So the last place, the place Derek Silva, it's 68 units of affordable housing. It is for people living with HIV/AIDS. And so the food that Google is donating through Food Runners every day has been taken to those 5 places. A agency serving a hot meal to anybody that comes to the door, a mental health treatment program for ex-cons, a church for serving meals to the homeless. Ken and Kip is an elderly, and Derek Silver's HIV. So those people are totally spoiled by your food. And could we take more from Google? The answer is yes. We can take the yogurt that's over there. We can take the fruit that's in the cafes. We can take everything that has not been served on a plate to somebody sitting there spitting on it and putting their fingers in it. Okay, so be sure. For instance, I'll take those pumpkins when I leave. I'll put those. I'll put those in my purse. All buffet food is donatable. We pick up at the Hilton today. We're picking up at the Ritz-Carlton today. From the Ritz-Carlton, it's taken from the Ritz-Carlton. It's taken about 9 months, where first we got their leftover banquet food, and now we're getting the leftover food from the takeout places. But it's just amazing the misinformation that people have. I heard once about somebody, it was actually Bon Appetit, a Bon Appetit company down in the Peninsula. Bon Appetit is the food provider, and they throw out, they put out yogurt in an ice bath, and when the ice melts, they throw the yogurt out. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yogurt is bacteria. Yogurt keeps forever. So no food needs to be thrown away. You can donate it. Just put it in a package and call Food Runners. So can I have the next? The next one's probably a photo. So what is food waste? Food waste, it has many sources, but I think it's kind of uneducated people that don't know that or it's people that don't care. One more. Or they're in the habit of throwing food away. You know, the people. So it takes a long time to. Takes a long time to get people to change their habits. And so the habits are take only what you think you can eat, save the rest to donate, and see that a responsible organization like Food Runners picks it up and takes it where it can best be used. The next thing that I think that what you can help Food Runners with is, first of all, maybe we could pass these out to everybody. So the deal is that because I'm an old secretary, I do things with cards and brochures, but hold on to these. And so we're still kind of in the process. At Food Runners, we're kind of in the process. That's Canadian for process. We're kind of in the process of trying to get more into the new technology. For instance, we are working on an app but currently people can donate through the website or the app. We still have a phone with an answering service, so people can call and leave a message on an answering service. an answering a voicemail. But what I think how you can help as Googlers, as San Franciscans, and as concerned people is first of all, tell your friends. Tell your friends. The best volunteers for us, are people who are in between jobs. People who are in between jobs, that's fine. People who are in between jobs or recently retired make really good volunteers because they're used to getting up and going somewhere. So if you know anybody that's recently retired or between jobs, tell them and they have their own vehicle, this is a really good place to volunteer is with Food Runners. We also could use help through social media. By taking pictures of the food you're donating and saying this is going to neighborhood shelters through Food Runners. So we could use help with social media. We can use help with telling everybody with food. We can use, and what else can we use help with? If you know anybody with a car, so I want to tell you a little bit more about some of the people that are volunteers for us. There's a man who came here, actually I shouldn't say this, but he also came here in the 50s and earned his living as a drug dealer. And then he went into the waterproofing and painting business. And this guy has been picking up at the Ferry Plaza Farmers Market all the leftover food from the farmers every Saturday whenever he's in San Francisco. And you'll see he goes and gets the truck. We use a truck for large donations. He goes and gets the truck, and he's a Brit. So you can see him at 12:30, 1 o'clock at the Ferry building going, food runners, bring out your food. So it takes him 4 hours every day to deliver all the food that the farmers bring him, because he has a relationship with them, and the farmers at the ferry, and then the farmers at the ferry build bring him even extra food on Saturdays. There's another guy, kind of who I would call a trust fund baby. He's a well-to-do man who lives out on Washington Street in Pacific Heights, and he has a 17-year-old daughter, and he and his daughter go on food runs every Saturday. Every Sunday he does Saturday at Kara's Cupcakes on Scott Street, and he takes bread and pastries out to the veterans' home out on Presidio, and then that's on Saturday. On Sunday, he goes to the farmers market at Fort Mason and picks up all their leftover foods and takes it to a place called Walden House that I call Walden House on Hayes and Fillmore, and and then there's a guy called Sam Haskins. Sam Haskins will go today at about 3:30 to a restaurant called Kokari, who makes foil trays of food for him. And he's a retired, he's a lawyer who writes books. We also have women doing deliveries too. We have, but they're of the volunteers for food runners, and some of them have been volunteers for 30 years, some people like to know that they're going to go every Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to pick up the leftover food at the Williams-Sonoma corporate office. And some people like to know that they're going to go there's a brand new place. I don't know if you've been to it. It's called Mercati. It's a society deli on Post between Larkin and Hyde that just opened 2 weeks ago. A guy called Stanley Gaddy is the owner, and he brought in a bunch of New York hot shots, and they put all this kombucha and sauerkraut and chia seeds and all this trendy food in there, and so they have, and you go, what are they doing on Post between Larkin and Hyde? It's kind of like renters, neighborhood. But they've got all the society people coming in their limos, and they send their chauffeurs to pick up food. But that new deli on Post Street is giving up all their leftover food I went and picked up myself every night at 9 o'clock, the first week they were open. And now they save the food in the cooler and we pick it up the next day. But have you been there?
No, I was just thinking it might be the old Fleur-de-Lis spot.
That's on Sutter. This is Post. It's a kind of crappy building. Really? Yeah. So I got to tell more jokes, or he got a phone call? Huh? So anyway, so we pick up at bakeries, grocery stores, delis like this place, Molly Stone's. So listen to this. So I am in Molly Stone's all the time because on California and Franklin, and it's taken me 10 years to get the Molly Stones to donate their leftover food. And what changed their mind was I named my dog Molly Stone. I got a new dog last year and called it Molly Stone. But it's hard to convince people, to, as I said, to change their habits. But we have 200 volunteers in the we're picking up 500 times a week with a van, a truck, and our volunteers with regular runs, and then other people that are on call. Some people just like to be on call, get in their car and go. And we also pick up, I talked about the Ritz-Carlton and the Hilton. We also pick up from caterers. There's a big caterer called Dan McCall, who has a commissary kitchen on 17th Street. He will take back his leftover food to the commissary kitchen, and we'll come the next day and pick it up. There's another caterer called Paula Leduc out of Emeryville. She will, so she doesn't take it back to Emeryville. She calls us and we pick it up at 1:30 at night. And so somebody suggested recently that maybe we should have Uber drivers. We should have Uber, because of their bad reputation, sponsor cars going around and picking up food for us. And you go, I don't know, because they might get cream chicken all over the back of their car. So anyway, the regular people, we have 500 people, 150 people, a truck driver, a van, and a couple of cargo bikes going around and picking up food either as regular runners or volunteers. And I still need that last thing about the call to action. The call to action. What can you do to help? You can help us with social media. You can help us with spreading the word to food businesses. You can help us with letting anybody who might want to be a volunteer know. And then the fourth way, I can't remember. So we'll have to get back to that. We'll get back to spread the word, tell your friends, and help us get more food to those in need in San Francisco. Before I open it up for questions, I want to tell you a little bit more about this place that I like to take food to. Oh yes, listen to this. So the other day I got somebody donated 3 garbage bags full of these paper containers that you might take soup home in. So I took them to Walden House. But I want to tell you about Walden House. Walden House is now called Health Right 360, and it's they recruit men and women coming out of jail who've had repeated, who keep going back to having drugs and getting into trouble, and they house them for 6 months. So it's a rehab center. They have 8 locations in San Francisco. And what has happened is that because of the food that we bring them from people like you, that has saved them $2 million a year that they would otherwise have to spend on making food for them. So thank you, Google, for all your food. Thank you for YouTube, where I got my fame. And what kind of questions do you have for me about food rescue, food waste, and food runners?
Actually, I got 2 questions from Kevin Francier. So he has 2 questions for you. So what policies should we be trying to pass to lower barriers to sharing food? And
what policies?
Yes.
Should we pass?
Yes, to lower barriers to sharing food.
There are no policies, just pick up the fucking food.
Okay, the second one, should we more actively push people to be vegetarians, given that COVID?
So should we push people to be vegetarians? I don't think that has anything to do with rescuing food. I mean, we do. Listen to this. In San Francisco, there are. It's well known that the homeless people are the pickiest eaters. So if you were to go serve food at Glide or St. Anthony or Martin de Porres, you do have people going through the line saying, "Does that have sugar in it? Does that have gluten?" And so there are Even in even the homeless and the hungry are picky eaters here. But I think vegetarianism is a personal choice. Yes, sweetheart.
I would just.
Hello. Testing. I was just curious, like, what inspired the inspiration for the initial? Here you were running a cooking school, and then you decided to start this food runner sometime later. You said 1987. What was happening at that moment?
So,
what did you see? What was in?
Quite frankly, I used to stop in my red Alfa Romeo at the corner of, every day I cross the corner of Chestnut and Columbus. And you see people going through the garbage looking for food. And so what I did, I had, and one time at my cooking school, we did a 2-day wedding cake workshop. And so at the end of the 2 days, I had, we cut into them, we tasted, but I had 7 wedding cakes. Do I drive them to Glide? Do I give them to the staff, or do I throw them in the garbage? And so I thought, well, there must be other people in the food business that have that same question. And the truth is, I still have that car too. And I still have buttercream all over the steering wheel because I drove it to Glide. I drove those wedding cakes to Glide in 1986. I approached the mayor's office. Diane Feinstein was the mayor then, and said, I have food connections. Can we help? And she introduced me to a woman in Berkeley who was kind of a whole Mother Earth type of woman, and she taught me how to do this. And so we started with a small group of people, food runners, saying we're going to provide this free service to any business in San Francisco. And what do we do what do you do if you have a party in your home and not everybody comes? And so what you can do as a home cook is package the food, and you can look on foodrunners.org, the website, and it'll tell you your neighborhood place that you can take food to. If you live in North Beach, you can take it to North Beach Citizens. If you live out by the, there's a place called Edgewood out by the zoo, things like that. So we can't pick up in homes, but home food can be taken. And there are, I have okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, and one more quick question. Have you seen the documentary Wasted? And what do you think of Anthony fucking Bourdain?
I haven't seen the documentary. They asked me if I would be in it. And he's definitely a newcomer to the whole thing, Have you seen the documentary? Was it any good?
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah. So Tony Bourdain, as you know, has made his reputation as a bad boy, throwing cigarette butts in melted butter in restaurants where he worked in Grand Central Station. But he has great writers and great producers. And so if they're helping the food movement, God bless them.
Hello.
Hi.
So,
Hello.
I was introduced to your company about 10 years ago, working in grocery, working in Whole Foods, and so it was a very interesting moment of just like the idea of food waste and how it's being acknowledged. And it seems like perhaps like you guys could have been like a kind of like setting an industry standard for such. And I'm curious if like
I think we were
other
one
cities
of the first in the country, yeah.
Yeah, so if like other cities come to you?
Totally, yeah. So what happens is there is now a kind of a food waste, a food recovery group in Sonoma County that I trained. There's one in Marin County that I helped train. There's one in the Peninsula I helped train. There's one in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania that I helped work with. There's one in Northwest Connecticut. So, and there's a great one in Toronto that I didn't have anything to do with. But food waste is becoming a huge topic. And I even saw it on the side of a moving van. I can't remember the name of the moving company, but it had a big sign on it saying moveforhunger.org. And it appears that the moving company that's getting all your furniture and taking it to somewhere will also take all your food from your cupboards and donate it. So food waste is becoming a really good topic, and it's great that everybody's becoming involved in it. Any other questions? So the other thing that I'm going to finish with is I know that you all are, most of you are trained professionals in food, and I want to tell you a story about. So we had a truck donated to us 20 years ago from UPS, and it was a refrigerated truck. And so I went to a party at the middle of the night, put my all of the donated food in it. Took it. It was being part. It was we used a parking space at Royal Hawaiian Seafood and plugged it in. I plugged in, but it turned. The next day I went back to get the truck to deliver the food to the shelters, and it was clear that the refrigeration didn't work. And so I had big bags of carrots and celery, bread, and bags of cooked chicken. And so what I did was I drove the truck to 5th and Bryant, to the shelter at 5th and Bryant, and taking the bags of bread inside, taking the carrots inside, and I tried to put the chicken into the dumpster. And the homeless guys that were waiting to get in the shelter started climbing in the dumpster and I'm like, oh no, you can't eat that. It'll make you sick. And they go, lady, we're hungry. You know, there's no need to fear liability. And I don't care what the health department says in San Francisco or Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, or Truckee, California. If you let the health department, I mean, of course you have to obey their rules when you're in the food business, but they will try and tell you, oh, it has to be chilled at this temperature and raised to this, and take the fucking temperature. No, it's food and they're hungry people. They're not going to follow you out the door to find out where the salad is going. I just, I'm an old hippie from the 60s. We can't we can't be run by rules and regulations when they're hungry people. And we have to, as civilized human beings, we have to take care of our fellow human beings. As far as I know, we're the only animal in the world that heats food and makes it taste good. And we aren't like deer or raccoons going around the Presidio picking up food. And we have to take care of our fellow human beings. And with 1 out of every 4 people going to bed hungry in San Francisco, we need to do everything we can to help them. Thank you.